Dear viewers, today we will discuss a chapter in the English textbook of class 12. This is actually an extract, or we may call it an excerpt from an autobiography of Christy Brown, and the chapter is named in the textbook as the letter A. Now, in today's lecture, let us try to see the explanations of this letter A. Let us discuss its summary and let us know something about the author, and also let us try to come to the solved questions. So today let us know something about the author. Now, as far the author is concerned, the author of this autobiography, wherefrom this extract has been taken, is Christy Brown. Christy Brown was born on June 5th, 1932, and he lived up to 7th of September 1981. So he died at the age of almost 49 years. He was an Irish writer, a painter, but he was facing from cerebral palsy, and he was able to write or type only with the toes of one of his foot, that is the left foot. And the name of this autobiography has also been done like that, my left foot. Okay. So far as this most recognizable work is concerned, My Left Foot, in 1954, so it was also made into a film by Academy. It was an Academy Award winning film with the same name of My Left Foot, and it is starring where Daniel Day-Lewis, who played the role of Christy Brown in this film. Okay, now let us come to let us know something about this story. Now, in his autobiography, the letter A, Christy Brown describes how he overcame his massive handicap with his willpower, firm determination, and with the continuous effort and love of his mother. Christy Brown was born as the 10th child in a family of 22. When he was 4 months old, his head would constantly fall backwards whenever his mother tried to feed him. As he grew older, his hands were clenched tightly and twisted unnecessarily. He could not even hold the nipple of the bottle because he could not freely open or close his mouth. At 6 months, he could only sit by resting his back on the mountain of pillows. All these signs altered his mother, so she consulted doctors. The doctors told her that he was both mentally and physically defective, but she had a firm belief that her son may be physically weak but not mentally retarded. She was a woman of firm determination who loved Christy dearly as her other normal children. Filled by true motherly love, she tried to take care of him by herself. Even at the age of 5, he could neither sit nor speak. His every body parts were useless. His mother would show him pictures of animals and flowers and asked to repeat them after her. She hoped that Christy would at least learn and communicate with other people. So, even When her relatives told her not to take the boy seriously, she was determined to prove that her son was not only mentally retarded. One day, a wonderful event changed his life completely. He was attracted by the yellow piece of chalk that his brother and sister were writing within the black slates. He unconsciously grabbed the chalk out of his sister's hand with his left foot. He held it tightly between his toes and wrote carelessly on the slate. Every family member was curious. When his mother came and saw this, she knelt before him and drew a single letter A on the floor in front of him and asked him to copy it. He tried with the chalk. It produced a crooked line. He tried again and drew. He tried again and drew two sides, two sides of the letter. The chalk broke out. He wanted to give up and throw the chalk, but due to his mother's encouragement, he gathered his strength to write the letter A. When he wrote the letter A, his mother knew that it was a sign of intelligence and not just an imitative gesture, because Christy had done it with intense effort. So tears rolled out of her eyes. This had opened the road to mental freedom. He could express his desires and thoughts through words. Thus he was able to break the wall between him and other people. So from this we come to know this. I have given you the summary of this extract, the summary of this excerpt. This summary tells us that Christy Brown was not a normal child. He was born in a family of 22 and he was the 10th. But his mother noticed when Christy was 4 months old that the boy was not normal. He was not behaving normally. He could not hold his head. And when the mother tried to feed him, his head rolled back and he could only sit with the help of a heap of pillows. He could not do anything. His body was loose and at times it would get clenched. His hands would get clenched. His body would become stiff and at times it would become loose. And with this, when the mother got alarmed, she went to the doctors. Doctor told her that there could be nothing done. The boy is mentally as well as physically unfit. But the mother did not agree with the decisions of the doctors, though doctors were experts, but mother's love was there. She thought that though Christy Brown may be physically handicapped, but he can in no case is he mentally retarded or he's an imbecile or he's an idiot. So she raised her on the same plan as she tried to raise her other children. So with the passage of time, she could feed him. When Christy was even 5 or 6 years old, he could not even sit or on his own. He would lie for the whole day. He would lie on his back until he could be rested against the heap of the pillows. And you see, so but the mother never lost hope in him. She would come. She would take picture books. She would take other things. She would take the pictures of animals and she would repeat it before Christy Brown and encouraged him to speak and encouraged him to answer. But to her utmost, I may say, disappointment, he never responded. But internally, he was doing this. So once it happened that once Christy Brown's brother and sister, they were sitting by his side and they were writing something with the piece of chalk on slate. It was a yellow chalk. So Christy Brown was motivated from, it was a miracle that happened. He was motivated from inside. He could make only the movement of one of his left foot and he grabbed the piece of chalk from her sister. And when the children saw it, they just held the slate before him and he drew a crooked line. When the mother came in, she was highly, I may say, she was highly moved to see this, she encouraged Christy and she wrote on the floor, she wrote letter A. It suggests us that at this time Christy might have been leaning against the heap of the pillows, so he could see on the floor. So the mother draw letter A on the floor and she encouraged Christy to draw it, and finally after making so many efforts he could draw two sides of this, and mother also encouraged him, and this is for the first time that Christy Brown overcame his this, we may say, massive handicap, and he was able to write, though he had to put in his whole efforts to write this letter A, but he was able to put in his efforts, and finally he overcame his handicap. In this way the excerpt, or we may say the extract of the story ends. It all revolves around letter A, and it gives us an I must say, it gives us an account of Christy Brown's life, how Christy Brown did this and how he was encouraged by his mother. And one thing most important is to remember here that mother's faith is very much important. Mother did not lose. Mother did it was the willpower of Christy Brown and mother's faith in him that made a miracle. Otherwise, it is rarely seen that people with cerebral palsy may recover and they may write autobiographies and they can be painters and all other things. This is so from I recommend my viewers to go through this book. This is My Left Foot, and there is also a film has been also made on it with the same name, My Left Foot. So let us come to the discussions. The first question arises: how did Christy's mother know that her son was physically impaired? Oh, when Christy was 4 months old, his mother observed that he was unable to support his head. His head had habit of falling backwards. According to Christy, Bridget concluded there was something wrong with me. And several years later, he was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. Okay, cerebral, it is a Latin word for a part of the brain, while palsy refers to paralysis. So it means that he had a brain paralysis. Although Brown's biographer Christina Hamilton, who has written her biography, his biography explains that doctors in 1930s of Ireland considered cerebral palsy a difficult condition to understand, but Brown's form of cerebral palsy affected his this movement and posture of his doctors, and extended family recommended Bridget place him in care. However, Christy's mother decided to raise Christy at home. Though doctors had advised Christy's mother to give it in the charge of some hospitals who will take care of him, but mother did not compromise with that. She just, and it is interesting to know that the mother raised the child on her own plans. She raised all the other children in the family. Now, we can also say that doctors were so very sure of themselves that mother's faith in me seemed almost impertinence. This is an extract from that very biography. The doctors were so very sure of themselves that mother's faith in me seemed almost impertinence. This is an extract, you please remember it. Now the question arises, what did Christy's mother think about him? Christy's mother thought that he was not imbecile, as the doctors told her. She took him in her own hands. She was determined to treat her child in the same plane as other normal children. She believed that it was his body which was shattered, not his mind. She loved him and believed him. And why is her faith in him described as impertinence? His faith in him is described as impertinence because she refused to accept the expert opinion of doctors and specialists that he was an imbecile. She treated him in the same planes as normal children. She believed that it was his body which was shattered and not his mind. Now, in spite of all that doctors and specialists told Christy's mother, but she would not agree that he was imbecile. What does this reveal about her as a person? About Christy's mother? It reveals that she was a positive person. Her positive attitude made her believe that her son could not be completely crippled. She loved him and believed in him. She believed that her son could not be something to be fed and washed and then put away. She thought that Christy's disability is a social construct, a consequence of negative attitudes or physical barriers that can be overcome. To her, it was his body which was shattered and not the mind. What did Christy's mother hope to achieve by showing him pictures of animals and flowers, as we come to know through this excerpt? Christy's mother wanted to prove that her son was not an idiot but a normal child like other children. She set out to prove this. By showing her son pictures of animals and flowers, she wanted that she could speak and understand things by this. She struggled to obtain some proof of her faith. Children are usually fascinated by colorful pictures. So, further they can be molded, well, not because of any rigid sense of duty, but out of love. Okay? What was the advice offered by relatives and friends? Why was it lucky for the writer that his parents didn't have heed the advice? The relatives and friends contended that Christy was an idiot. He should be taken kindly and sympathetically but not seriously. They told Christy's parents not to look Christy as they would other children. This would only break their heart in the end. The writer was lucky that his parents held out against the lot of them. Christy's mother even set out to prove this. She showed him pictures of animals and flowers, told him stories about that helped him to write and gave him a lot of love. She did not give up her struggle. Ultimately, she was successful. Now, Christy's mother believed in him, and now Christy feels that not many mothers would have treated him the way his mother did. How would Christy have been treated in other households? Now there is a question. Okay, it is well understood question. Christy feels that not many mothers would have treated him this way. That is the fact. They would have treated him kindly and sympathetically, but not seriously. They would have not struggled to the extent Christy's mother struggled and to mold him. Many mothers would have treated him as a queer one in back room who were never spoken of when there were visitors present in the household. And that was a momentous decision. That was a momentous decision. What decision his mother took about bringing him up? Why did Christy consider the decision a momentous one? So Christy says that was a momentous decision my mother took, that she went against the opinion of the relatives and doctors. Christy's mother decided to regard him on the same plane as the others. She thought that it was his body which was crippled and not his mind. Therefore, she decided to raise him like a normal child. Christy considered her mother's decision a momentous one because it meant that his mother was always to be with his side, to fight all battles that were to come. In this way, and to inspire him with new strength when he was beaten. Eventually, the decision proved to be a significant one in Christy's life. Despite being surrounded by loving family, what were Christy's feelings as he lay on his back in the kitchen or in the garden? Christy felt himself lonely and imprisoned in a world of his own. He could not communicate with others. He felt cut off from them, as if a glass wall stood between his existence and theirs. He longed to run and play with the rest of, but he was unable to break loose from his bondage. Now, while his father was busy bricklaying, we come to know through this extract that his father was a bricklayer. He would lay bricks. His mother was patiently pulling down the wall, brick by brick. Which wall? Which wall was mother pulling down? Which wall? This was? She was pulling down the barrier that separated Christy from other children. She was slowly and patiently penetrating beyond the thick curtain that hung over his mind. separating it from theirs. She believed that Christy was not an idiot but normal like other children. It was just his body which was crippled and not his mind. She worked hard to remove all the obstacles that came in the way of Christy's progress. And this was the wall that she was removing. Okay. Now they now spoke of an institution. It is the relatives. The relatives spoke now of an institution. What is the institution they are speaking of? The relatives were speaking about the institution for mentally challenged. They wanted Christy's mother to take the child there and put it there in their look after. But Christy's mother didn't say. So Christy's mother furiously rejected their suggestion. She told them that Christy was not an idiot. It was his body that was shattered, not his mind, and she was sure of that, and she proved it. Christy's mother and father and siblings saw his forming letter A. What? It was a sign of intelligence. They found it was a sign of intelligence. And why was Christy surprised himself, holding a chalk between his toes? Christy was surprised to see himself holding a chopstick between his toes because he could not believe his eyes how he was able to grip the piece of chalk between his toes. He hardly knew how it got there. He was also not knowing what to do with it next. It was really an unbelievable achievement for him. Now you see, when Christy suddenly, all of a sudden as a miracle, he just takes out his left foot and grabs the piece of chalk from his sister, and then with the help of mother's encouragement draws those crooked lines, and he is able to write the letter A. This was for the first time in his life, and it was an unbelievable moment, and it was really not less than a miracle. So it was obvious that Christy himself got surprised on this. So why was everyone tense in the room at that very moment when they saw Christy attempting to write, holding a piece of chalk between his toes and attempting to write? Surprised everyone in the room. Till then, everyone except Christy's mother thought that he was an idiot and didn't possess any intelligence. So everyone in the family, we may say, we come to know from the story that he was the 10th child, means there were 9 children also, and then there was mother and father, and all, we may say there are 11 people. Out of 11 people, only one mother believed that Christy was not an idiot. He was a normal child, though he was physically handicapped. But when these people, they saw Christy holding a piece of chalk and trying to write, it was almost an impossible achievement for them as well. They were excited, they were very much happy and tense, but tense at the same time because everyone now wanted to see the outcome of the Christy's struggle that was going to come. Okay, what do you think finally helped Christy to achieve this impossible? Christy achieved this impossible because he was given a chance by his mother to express himself. His mother didn't give up hope but struggled for him. She gave him all important helps that molded him right way. She didn't give ear to the doctors, relatives and friends that her son was an imbecile. She loved him and believed in him. She thought that Christy was not an idiot. She took Christy in her own hand and treated him in the same plan as others. To her it was his body that was crippled and not his mind. She removed all the obstacles that came in his way. She spent hours with him, showing pictures, telling him names of animals and flowers, and gave him all care and love. Finally, her faith rewarded her and her struggle changed into a triumph. So, it was a victory on the part of Christy Brown. So, there can be one more question in this. So, this question can be like this. How did mother take the writer seriously after he was even left by the doctor? This is an important question. When doctors say, because doctors are experts, but mother didn't agree to the doctors. Why was this? This was that doctors declared Christy to be an imbecile. Mother's faith didn't shatter at all. She took it as a challenge in her life. In spite of her relatives and friends, she went against their will, she went against their decisions, she rejected their suggestions, she decided to nourish him on his own. She raised the child on the same plane as she raised other children. She spent hours together, she showed him pictures of animals, she would talk to him hours, and she finally, this was her faith, and this mother's faith was really, it was answered by the God, and it was resulted positively. Christy was able to write letter A with the piece of chalk that was held between the toes of his toes of his mental freedom. It was his mental freedom, I must tell you. It was all the fruit of his mother's confidence and labor. This is what we know about Christy Brown. I hope that I have almost discussed the letter A threadbare with you. I have given you the summary. I have given you the question answers. I have given you everything about it which could be there. If you go to your textbook, you can find your questions there. You will find these answers. And I have already uploaded one, I may say, a PowerPoint presentation on this there in my group. You can also go to my YouTube channel. You can find other things regarding all this. I hope that this lesson of mine might, to some extent, I don't claim to be a perfect teacher, because nobody is perfect. When one becomes perfect, that is his death. Though there is nobody perfect. I am not perfect, but I try my level best. I try my bit to put in my bit over here. I hope that students will get benefited, and viewers. It is open for healthy criticism. For any kind of criticism, it is open to all. Till then, I take leave from you. Me too in the next video, but with a request, just please subscribe to my video as well, and also press the button icon so that you may get notified about my next coming videos. Till then, goodbye.